Eric, I was telling them all about your graduation the other day, and it's in the bulletin, and also and the baby, and we've been talking. I know your ears have to be burning because we were talking about you. But it's a wonderful day, and it's wonderful to see a new baby. I'm telling you. Can you believe it's the third Sunday of Advent? It seems like we're getting right now into the meat and bread of the season. Actually, you might say it's the bread of the season. There is no words and more tenderly and enjoyed more than the words that I'm going to read right now. Now, in those days, second chapter of Luke, a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that the census be taken of all the inhabited earth. This was the first census taken while Quirinius was governor of Syria. And everyone was on his way to register for the census, each to his own city. And Joseph also went up from Galilee, from the city of Nazareth to Judea, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house of the family of David. And in order to register along with Mary, who was engaged to him and was with child. And while they were there, the days were completed for her to give birth. And she gave birth to her firstborn son, and wrapped him in cloths, and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn. That passage is like Santa Claus. It's like reading, I don't care what age you are. It just opens your eyes up, and you visualize hundreds of people going to this little town called Bethlehem. You know, I get frustrated when I go to pay my taxes, because or get a tag sometimes, because I'm standing there in a line, and but you can imagine what it was like for them to go and to pay to register, and they were going on donkey, and but I don't have a problem. I run down to Dublin and down the city and do my job, do whatever I need, and it's done, and I'm going home within 30 minutes probably. But I do get irritated in that line inching along. But I did not have a baby, a wife, or that is having a baby and having to carry her with me. We're going to have to get a motel room just to pay our taxes. or to register. Well, that's what Joseph was having to do. There is another beautiful thing about the story. It is the town of Bethlehem. Bethlehem means house of bread. And where Bethlehem was located, and it was a fertile area for growing wheat. But if you go much further down into Israel, it gets pretty dry. There are not many places in Israel that you can grow wheat, especially in the south, that is. The name of this town and the place where God brought this baby to be born and this family to bring and have their child, it's no coincidence. The subject of bread is one that we frequently hear and read about in Jesus, or with Jesus. One of the prayer that we read this morning, or we said this morning, give us this day our daily bread. Bread is important. It was important wherever Jesus went. He would go to Simon Peter's house, home. He went to the wedding in Cana. He went to Zacchaeus' home. He went to Mary and Martha's home. The upper room where he ate with the disciples. And then the big one, not the big one necessarily, but a significant one was the two men who were going to Emmaus. They go in, he stays with them for a while, and they sit down and they start breaking bread, and that's when they recognize it. It's in the breaking of bread. The bread of God. It's not just for physical being, it's for our spiritual being, well-being. There's a double aspect to life. And Jesus says in Matthew 4:4, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. He knew, and we know that life can't be just satisfied by things. I know of a lot of homes that are not homes, but they've got everything that you can name in those homes. They got all the conveniences, but it's not a home. A home, it takes more than that to make a home. More than things. People can have the wealth of Sam Walton and live, but they can be bitter, disillusioned, and despairing. Something needs to be inside of us feeding us, and that's what the bread of life is. That's what Christ is. He's the bread that feeds us. People ask me quite often, how do you know when a person is saved, or how do you know when you are saved? Well, to the first question, or to the first question, I would say, I can't tell whether you're saved or not, but I can see how you do things differently. I'm not one, I can't get inside. I don't know your heart, but I know God knows your heart. And I know that He knows the energy and the money that you give and the energy that you give out, that He knows why you're giving that energy, why you're giving that money, because a lot of people will give money because they just have it and they want to look good. That's the way it actually is. Now, the story of the innkeeper has always been a beautiful story to me. It is just, it's tender, and it's, we like to blame the innkeeper. We love to blame, and it sounds like in the Bible, we blame the innkeeper for all this problem that Joseph and Mary had. But the innkeeper, he did not know Mary and Joseph any more than you and I know her, or would have known. And so I know a lot of times as we travel around the country, Sharon and I and the children and the years, I know a lot of times we'd go to a motel and they say no vacancy. And I'd want to jump across the counter at the guy and say, "Now we need a room." I want to remind him of Jerry Clower, what Jerry Clower said one time. He went into to get a room and he said, "Do you have any rooms?" And the man said, "No." He said, "If the president were to come today, would you have a room for him?" "Yeah, we'd have a room for him. And he said, well, he's not coming. I want his room. Well, that's the way it goes, you know. The innkeeper, he was not necessarily looking for God. He was not a wise man that was running around constantly thinking about, well, I wonder if he's coming today. That never hit his mind. He was in a little town with few rooms, motel rooms, hotel rooms. There were a few citizens who were taking people in. And so, I mean, it wasn't his fault. Caesar Augustus' fault, mostly. He asked for people to go back to their home and to register. Pay their taxes, register, whatever. Well, you know, that would be something easily done for some of the Jewish people at that time, and today even. Because they know, they follow their lineage. But I want to tell you, if the President of the United States said to me, Wayne, I want you to go back and pay your taxes, and I want you to go, you know, I want everybody, if somehow you got real, you know, he allowed us to go where we came from. And I found out that I came from England, and that's where my family came from, through DNA testing or something like that. Then I would come back and I would say, well, do you want me to pay my taxes to the Queen? Or do you want the taxes? You know, because it's hard for us to determine where we came from. Now, if you can get some DNA tests, and you can find out pretty easily where you came, where your parents and great right on back came from. So, how do we know that Jesus is coming to our little Bethlehem? How do we know? Well, I can tell you the first thing you notice is a joy of life. When you see a person that is excited about the Lord, you know that Christ has come to Bethlehem. You know when that baby comes in, that you can accept that baby as some are there and just say, well, it's just a baby, it's just another child. But if you accept that, this is a miracle of God. And it is something special. That's when God comes, Jesus came, or our Lord is coming from Bethlehem, or coming to Bethlehem, your Bethlehem. In the second place, the sign of Jesus may be near when you stand in the presence of innocence. That faithfulness of a mother or father, of that looking after that child, that integrity of that man who foregoes taking advantage of somebody. You know Bethlehem has come to that life. Because he could have lined his pockets by taking, but he didn't. That young person that could have gotten himself or herself involved sexually or in drugs or other things, but they didn't, because they felt that I just don't want to do that. I'm doing this because I don't want to do anything that would dishonor my Lord. Bethlehem. He has come to Bethlehem. You are the Bethlehem. There's a divine gift that we receive. The third thing, it may be a sign that Jesus is drawing near when we are moved to generosity. Now, I don't mean it's important that we be generous with our money to help people. But you know, it's something else to anticipate a person's problem and their needs before they ever ask us. Sometimes we can anticipate those things and say, do you need this? Or how can I help you? And then they all of a sudden break down and say, you know, I don't know why you're asking me that, but I really do need it. You are aware of coming to Bethlehem, of Christ coming to Bethlehem. When we do something wonderful, Christ enters into that life, enters into your life, and it just feeds, that bread feeds you, and you get to the point where you're being nourished, and you're feeling better, and you're feeling good about life. That's divine. That's God coming in. That's Him That's being born in Bethlehem. That's a little bit. He's come to that Bethlehem in your life and being raised. I want to end with a story this morning. I told you this story about several years ago. In 2008, Courier Herald reported about a young black guy, a 19-year-old black guy, black male, who was in court. And he was in court because he had been picked up over at the middle school, riding through the parking lot at the middle school. He was on his Huffy bicycle, and why they arrested him was he had a hammer under the seat of the bicycle. And the officers got him for criminal trespass and possession of a tool that could commit a crime. In court, he began to tell his story. 2 years earlier, his father went into a drug-induced rage, looking for a piggy bank so he could buy some drugs. And in the process, he kicked this boy out, 17-year-old, kicked him out of the house. He had absolutely nowhere to live. So he was constantly on the move. He would sleep outside in the parks. He would sleep in front of stores or by the side of stores. He would, he just moved around. But you know what? He still went to school and held a job. He never missed school, and he did really, really well in school, believe it or not. Real well. And this is what he said. I never fell to the temptation to make a quick $300 by selling drugs. I just did not want to go to jail. I guess I'd rather sleep on the park bench than to do something that could put me in jail. Even when he was put in jail, you know where he made his first phone call? His one call to his employer and said, I need to be out of work today. And I'll be there tomorrow. And when he did need to be to work early, where did he sleep? He slept behind the store where he was having to work so he would make sure he would get there. Come rain, he had no bicycle at this time. He had no bicycle. He had to walk in the rain and all that, but he made it to work. He made it to school every single day. In the end, the courts made a plan. They made a plan for him, and they sent him to the Georgia National Guard Challenge Academy down at Hinesville, Fort Stewart. And there he could get his GED, and he could go on to college. The judge of that case had placed him in the academy, got him into the academy, but the first night, the judge got him a place in a motel that is close to his work. And then the judge that night went and got him 2 pairs of pants, got him 2 shirts, socks, boxers, 2 jackets. And the boy he said to the judge, Brian said to the judge, he says, nobody has ever done anything like this with me, not even my kinfolk. It has really touched me. But I want to ask you, why me? And the judge, the DA at this time said that because you have so much desire to be good. Brian brought the very best out of the Denver people, y'all. Springdale Baptist Church fixed up a 10-speed bicycle, a used bicycle, made it like new, and brought it to the DA's office. They opened an account at Dudley Bank for the homeless youth. And they used that money to help him. But the money that was left over, and that account was still going today, that left over was to help other kids who were in need and who were homeless. And Jesus said, when did I see you hungry and in jail? During 2008, Jesus rode the streets of Durden. But he did not go by the name of Jesus. He went by the name of Brian. I want you to think about it. I want you to think about it. Allow letting our Lord come into your life this Christmas. But most of all, you visiting somebody else and making them the birth of Christ in their lives. Because Brian was brought birth to that city of Dublin in 2008. It woke them up. That boy changed Dublin. You can change a life. We're going to open the doors of the church for you to make a decision.